Okay, so we are still in Festival at Surrender's House, on page 452 of the Gospel, and we are in 1884, and I forgot to check the date. June 15th of 1884. A devotee. Does the ego disappear altogether after the realization of God? Master. Yes. Sometimes God totally effaces the ego of his devotee, as in the case of samadhi, but in many cases he keeps a trace of ego. But that doesn't injure anybody. It is like the ego of a child. A 5-year-old child no doubt says, I, but that ego doesn't harm anybody. At the touch of the philosopher's stone, the steel is turned into gold. The steel sword becomes a sword of gold. The gold sword has the form of a sword, no doubt, but it cannot injure anybody. You cannot cut anything with a gold sword. To Pratap. You have been to England. Tell us what you saw there. Pratap. The English people worship what you call gold. Of course, there are also some good people in England, those who live an unattached life. But generally one finds there a great display of rajas in everything. I saw the same thing in America, no doubt. Master to Pratap. It is not in England alone that one sees attachment to worldly things. You see it everywhere. But remember that work is only the first step in spiritual life. God cannot be realized without sattva, love, discrimination, kindness, and so on. It is the very nature of rajas to involve a person in many worldly activities. That is why rajas degenerates into tamas. If a man is entangled in too many activities, he surely forgets God. He becomes more and more attached to lust and greed. But it is not possible for you to give up work altogether. Your very nature will lead you to it, whether you like it or not. Therefore, the scriptures ask you to work in a detached spirit, that is to say, not to crave the work's results. For example, you may perform devotions and worship and practice austerities, but your aim is not to earn people's recognition or to increase your merit. To work in a spirit of detachment is known as karma yoga, as in our Karma Yoga Day, yes. But it is very difficult. We are living in the Kali Yuga, when one easily becomes attached to one's actions. You may think you are working in a detached spirit, but attachment creeps into the mind from nobody knows where. You may worship in the temple or arrange a grand religious festival or feed many poor and starving people, and you may think you have done all this without hankering after the results. But unknown to yourself, the desire for name and fame has somehow crept into your mind. Complete detachment from the results of action is possible only for one who has seen God. A devotee. Then what is the way for those who have not seen God? Must they give up all the duties in the world? Master. The best path for this age is bhakti yoga, the path of bhakti prescribed by Narada, to sing the name and glories of God and pray to him with a longing heart. O God, give me knowledge, give me devotion, and reveal thyself to me. The path of karma is extremely difficult. Therefore one should pray, O God, make my duties fewer and fewer, and may I, through thy grace, do the few duties that thou givest me without any attachment to their results. May I have no desire to be involved in many activities. It is not possible to give up work altogether. Even to think or to meditate is a kind of work. As you develop love for God, your worldly activities become fewer and fewer of themselves, and you lose all interest in them. Can one who has tasted a drink made of sugar candy enjoy a drink made of ordinary molasses? A devotee. The English people always exhort us to be active. Isn't action the aim of life then? Master, the aim of life is the attainment of God. Work is only a preliminary step. It can never be the end. Even unselfish work is only a means. It is not the end. Shambhu Malik once said to me, please bless me, sir, that I may spend all my money for good purposes, such as building hospitals and dispensaries, making roads and digging wells. I said to him, it will be very good if you can do all these things in a spirit of detachment. But that is very difficult. Whatever you may do, you must always remember that the aim of life, of this life of yours, is the attainment of God, not the building of hospitals and dispensaries. Suppose God appeared before you and said to you, accept a boon from me. Would you then ask him, oh God, build me some hospitals and dispensaries? Or would you rather not pray to him, oh God, may I have pure love at your lotus feet? May I have your uninterrupted vision? Hospitals, dispensaries, and all such things are unreal. God alone is real, and all else is unreal. Furthermore, after realizing God, one feels that God alone is the doer and we are but his instruments. Then why should we forget him and destroy ourselves by being involved in too many activities? After realizing him, one may, through his grace, become his instruments in building many hospitals and dispensaries. We have to remember that when Sri Ramakrishna talks about things being unreal, it isn't like they don't exist. They exist, but they're very temporary. A hospital, a dispensary will only last a very short amount of time. It's not eternal. It's not forever. Only God is forever. Only God is eternal. Therefore, I say again that work is only the first step. It can never be the goal of life. Devote yourself to spiritual practice and go forward. Through practice, you will advance more and more in the path of God. At last, you will come to know that God alone is real and all else is illusory, and that the goal of life is the attainment of God. Once upon a time, a woodcutter went into the forest to chop wood. There suddenly he met a brahmachari. The holy man said to him, my good man, go forward. On returning home, the woodcutter asked himself, why did the brahmachari tell me to go forward? Some time passed. One day he remembered the brahmachari's words. He said to himself, today I shall go deeper into the forest. Going deeper into the forest, he discovered innumerable sandalwood trees. He was very happy and returned with cartloads of sandalwood. He sold them in the market and became very rich. A few days later, he remembered the words of the holy man to go forward. He went deeper into the forest and discovered a silver mine near a river. This was even beyond his dreams. He dug out silver from the mine and sold it in the market. He got so much money that he didn't even know how much he had. A few more days passed. He thought, brahmachari didn't ask me to stop at this silver mine. He told me to go forward. This time he went to the other side of the river and found a gold mine. Then he exclaimed, just see, this is why he asked me to go forward. Again, a few days afterwards, he went still deeper into the forest and found heaps of diamonds and other precious gems. He took these also and became rich as the God of wealth himself. Therefore, I say that whatever you do, you will find better and better things if you only go forward. You may feel a little ecstasy as the result of japa, but don't conclude from this that you've achieved everything in spiritual life. Work is by no means the goal of life. Go forward, and then you will be able to perform unselfish work. But again I say that it is most difficult to perform unselfish work. Therefore, with love and longing in your heart, pray to God, O God, grant me devotion at thy lotus feet and reduce my worldly duties. Please grant me the boon that the few duties I must do may be done in a detached spirit. If you go still farther, you will realize God. You will see him. In time, you will converse with him. Next, the conversation turned to the quarrels among the members of the Brahmo Samaj. They'd had a misunderstanding about the right to preach in the temple after Keshav's death. Master to Pratap, I hear that some members of the Samaj have quarreled with you about the altar, but they are most insignificant persons, mere nobodies, to the devotees. People like Pratap and Amrita are like good conch shells. They give out a loud sound, and the rest, about whom you hear so much, they don't give out any sound at all. All laugh. Pratap, speaking of sounds, even such a worthless thing as the mango stone makes a sound. Now, according to our footnote here, a split stone of a mango about to sprout makes a sound when one blows through it. We need footnotes for that. Okay, Master to Pratap. One can very well understand the inner feeling of a teacher of your Brahmo Samaj by hearing his preaching. Once I went to a meeting of the Hari Sabha. The preacher of the day was a pundit named Samadhyay. And can you imagine what he said? He said in the course of his sermon, God is dry. We must make him sweet and fresh with our love and devotion. I was stunned to hear these words. Then I was reminded of a story. A boy once said, at my uncle's house there are many horses. Oh yes, his whole cowshed is full of them. Now, if it was really a cowshed, then horses could not be kept there. Possibly he had only cows. What do you think what people would think on hearing such an incoherent statement? They believed that there were surely no such animals as horses in a shed. Laughter. A devotee. True, sir. There were not only no horses, but possibly there were also no cows. Laughter. Master. Just fancy. To describe God, who is the very nature of love and bliss, as dry, it only proves that the man has never experienced what God is like. To Pratap. Let me tell you something. You are learned and intelligent and serious-minded soul. Keshav and you were like two brothers, Gaur and Nitai. You've had enough of lectures, arguments, quarrels, discussions, and dissensions. Can such things interest you anymore? Now gather your whole mind and direct it to God. Plunge deep into God. Pratap. Yes, sir, you are right. That is surely my only duty now. But I'm doing all these things only to perpetuate Keshav's name. Master with a smile. No doubt you say that now, that you are doing all this to keep his name alive. But in a few days you won't feel that way. Listen to a story. A man had built a house on a hill. It was only a mud hut, but he had built it with great labor. A few days after, there came a violent storm, and the hut began to rock. The man became very anxious to save it and prayed to the God of winds. "O God of the winds, please don't wreck my house." But the God of winds paid no heed to the prayer. The house was about to crash. Then he thought of a trick. He remembered that Hanuman was the son of the God of the wind. So at once he cried out with great earnestness, "O revered sir, please don't pull down the house. It belongs to Hanuman. I beseech you to protect it." But the house still continued to shake violently. Nobody seemed to listen to his prayer. He repeated many times, "Oh, this house belongs to Hanuman." But the fury of the wind did not abate. Then he remembered that Hanuman was the devoted servant of Rama, whose younger brother was Lakshmana. Desperately, the man prayed, crying aloud, "Oh, this house belongs to Lakshmana." But that also failed to help matters. So the man cried out in the last resort, "This is Rama's house. Don't break it down. O God of the winds, I beseech you most humbly." But this too proved futile, and the house began to crash down. Whereupon the man, who had now had to save his own life, rushed out with a curse, "Let it go. It's the devil's own hut." To Pratap. You don't have to perpetuate Keshav's name. Remember that he achieved all his success through the will of God. Through the divine will, his work was established, and now through the divine will, it is disintegrating. What can you do about it? Now it's your bounden duty to give up your entire mind to God and plunge deep into the ocean of his love. Saying these words, the Master sang in his sweet voice, "Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart, where with his loving devotees Sri Krishna sports eternally. Light up, O mind, light up true wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn with a steady flame unceasingly within your heart. Who is it that steers your boat across the solid earth? It is your Guru, says Kabir. Meditate on his holy feet." The Master continued, addressing Pratap. Did you listen to the song? You've had enough of lectures and quarrels. Now dive deep into the ocean of God. There is no fear of death from plunging into this ocean, for this is the ocean of immortality. Don't think this will make you lose your head. Never for a moment harbor the idea that by thinking too much of God one becomes insane. Once I said to Narendra, Pratap, "Who's Narendra, sir?" Master, "Oh, never mind. There's a young man of that name. I said to Narendra, look here, my boy. God is the ocean of bliss. Don't you want to plunge into this ocean? Suppose there's a cup of syrup and you are a fly. Where will you sit to sip the syrup? Narendra said, I will sit on the edge of the cup and stick my neck out to drink it. Why, said I. Why should you sit on the edge? He replied, if I go far into the syrup, I shall be drowned and lose my life. Then I said to him, but my child, there's no fear in the ocean of Satchidananda. It is the ocean of immortality. By plunging into it, a man does not die. He becomes immortal. Man does not lose his consciousness by being mad about God. To the devotees, the feeling of I and mine is ignorance. People say that Rani Rashmani built the Kali temple, but nobody says that it was a work of God. They say that such and such a person established the Brahmo Samaj, but nobody says it was founded through the will of God. This feeling of I am the doer is ignorance. On the contrary, the idea, O God, thou art the doer and I'm only an instrument. Thou art the operator and I am the machine, is knowledge. After attaining knowledge, a man says, O God, nothing belongs to me, neither this house of worship, nor this Kali temple, nor this Brahmo Samaj. These are all thine. Wife, son, family do not belong to me. They are all thine. To love these objects, regarding them as one's own, as Maya. But to love all things is Daya, compassion. To love only the members of the Brahmo Samaj or of one's family is Maya. To love one's own countrymen is Maya. But to love the people of all countries, to love the members of all religions, is Daya. Such love comes from the love of God, from Daya. Maya entangles a man and turns him away from God. But through Daya, one realizes God. Sages like Shukadeva and Narada always cherish Daya in their hearts. Prata. Revered Sir, are those who live with you making progress in their spiritual life? Master. I tell people that there is nothing wrong in the life of the world, but they must live in the world as a maidservant lives in her master's house. Interesting, he doesn't even answer that question. He just totally, it's like eye roll, moving past it. But they must live in the world as a maidservant lives in her master's house. Referring to her master's house, she says, that is our house. But her real home is in a faraway village. Pointing out her master's house to others, she says, no doubt, this is our house. But in her heart, she knows very well that it doesn't belong to her and that her own house is in a faraway village. She brings up her master's son and says, my Hari has grown very naughty, or my Hari doesn't like sweets, though she repeats my Hari with her lips. Yet she knows in her heart that Hari doesn't belong to her, that he is her master's son. Thus I say to those who visit me, why don't you live in the world? There's no harm in that. But always keep your mind on God. Know for certain that house, family, property are not yours. They are God's. Your real home is in God. Also, I ask them to pray always with a longing heart for love of God's lotus feet. Again, the conversation turned to the English people. A devotee said, Sir, I understand that nowadays the pundits of England do not believe in the existence of God. Pratap. However they may talk, I don't believe that any of them is a real atheist. Many of them have to admit that there is a great power behind the activities of the universe. Master. Well, that is enough. They believe in Shakti, don't they? Then why should they be atheists? Pratap. They also believe in the moral government of the universe. Pratap was about to take leave of the master. Master to Pratap. What more shall I say to you? My only request is that you do not involve yourself in quarrels and dissensions anymore. Another thing, it is lust and greed that keep men away from God. That is the barrier. Don't you find that everyone has nothing but praise for his own wife? I'll laugh. A wife may be good or bad, but if you ask her husband, he will always say, oh, she's very good. At this point, Pratap bade the master goodbye. He did not want to hear he did not wait to hear the end of Sri Ramakrishna's words about the renunciation of lust and greed. These burning words touched the hearts of the devotees and were carried away on the wind through the gently rustling leaves in the garden. A few minutes later, Mani Malak said to Sri Ramakrishna, Sir, it is time for you to leave for Dakshineshwar. Today, Keshav's mother and the other ladies of the family are going to the temple garden to visit you. They will be hurt if they do not find you there. Keshav had passed away only a few months before. His old mother and his other relatives wanted to visit the master. Master to Mani Malik, "Don't hurry me, please. I didn't sleep well. I can't rush. They are going to Dakshineshwar. What can I do about it? They will stroll in the garden and enjoy it thoroughly." After resting a little, the master was ready to leave for Dakshineshwar. He was thinking of Surendra's welfare. He visited the different rooms, softly chanting the holy name of God. Suddenly he stood still and said, "I didn't eat any luchi at mealtime. Bring me a little now." He ate only a crumb and then said, "There is much meaning in my asking for the luchi. If I should remember that I hadn't eaten any at Surendra's house, I should want to come back for it." All laugh. Mani Malik, "That would have been nice. Then we too should have had come with you." The devotees laughed. That is the end of that day, and we could read a little of the next day, but before we do that, any questions, any arguments or dissensions or hand raises? No? All looking good for you, Sananda? Thumbs up. Sarah? All working for you? Okay. All right, then we shall forge ahead. Friday, June 20th, 1884. It was dusk. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room, absorbed in contemplation of the Divine Mother. Now and then he was chanting her name. Rakhal, Adhar, M., and several other devotees were with him. After a while, the evening worship began in the temples. Adhar left the room to see the worship. Sri Ramakrishna and M. conversed. "Master, tell me, does Baburam intend to continue his studies?" I said to him, "Continue your studies to set an example to others." After Sita had been set free, Vibhishana refused to become the king of Ceylon. Rama said to him, "You should become king to open the eyes of the ignorant. Otherwise, they will ask you what you have gained as a result of serving me. They will be pleased to see that you acquire the kingdom." I noticed the other day that Baburam, Bhavanat, and Harish have a feminine nature. In a vision, I saw Baburam as a goddess with a necklace around her neck, with a woman companion about her. He has received something in a dream. His body is pure. Only with a very little effort will awaken his spiritual. Only a very little effort will awaken his spiritual consciousness. You see, I'm having some difficulty about my physical needs. It will be nice if Baburam lives with me. The nature of these attendants of mine is undergoing a change. Latu is always tense with spiritual emotion. He is about to merge himself in God. Rakhal is getting into such a spiritual mood. He can't do anything even for himself. I have to get water for him. He isn't much service to me. Among the youngsters, Baburam and Niranjan are rather exceptional. If other boys come in the future, they will, it seems to me, receive instructions and then go away. But I don't want Baburam to tear himself away from his family. It could make trouble at home, smiling. When I ask him, "Why don't you come?" he says, "Why not make me come?" He looks at Rakhal and weeps. He says Rakhal is very happy here. Rakhal now lives here as one of the family. I know he will never again be attached to the world. He says that worldly enjoyments have become tasteless to him. His wife came here on the way to Kanagar. She is 14. He too was asked to go to Kanagar, but he didn't go. He said, "I don't like merriment and gaiety." What do you think of Niranjan? M. He's very handsome. Master, no, I'm not asking about his looks. He is guileless. One can easily realize God if one is free from guile. Spiritual instruction produces quick results in a guileless heart. Such a heart is like well-cultivated land, from which all the stones have been removed. No sooner is the seed sown than it germinates. The fruit also appears quickly. Niranjan will not marry. It is lust and greed that causes entanglement. Isn't that so? Yes, sir. Master, what will one gain by renouncing betel leaf and tobacco? That's like stupid, trifling things. The real renunciation is the renunciation of lust and greed. I came to know in an ecstatic mood that Niranjan had accepted a job in an office, but he would not be stained by it. He is earning money for his mother. There's no harm in that. The work that you are doing won't injure you either. What you are doing is good. Suppose a clerk is sent to jail. He's shut up there and chained, and at last he's released. Does he cut capers after his release? Of course not. He works again as a clerk. It is not your intention to accumulate money. You only want to support your family. Otherwise, where will they go? M. I shall be relieved if someone takes charge of them. Master, that is true. But now do this as well as that. M. It is great luck to be able to renounce everything. Master, that is true. But people act according to their inherent tendencies. You have a few more duties to perform. After these are over, you will have peace. Then you will be released. A man cannot easily get out of the hospital once his name is registered there. He is discharged only when he is completely cured. The devotees who come here may be divided into two groups. One group says, "Oh God, give me liberation." Another group, belonging to the inner circle, doesn't talk that way. They're satisfied if they can know two things. First, who I am, that is to say, Sri Ramakrishna. And second, who they are and what their relationship to me is. You belong to the second group. Otherwise, Bhavanat, Babaram, few others have a Svenman nature. Harish sleeps in a woman's cloth. Babaram says, too, that he likes the womanly attitude, so I am right. Bhavanat also is like that. But Narendra, Rakhal, Naranjan have a masculine nature. Please tell me one thing. What is the significance of my having hurt my arm? Once my teeth were broken while I was in a state of ecstasy. It is the arm this time. Seeing M silent, the master himself continued the conversation. Master, my arm was broken in order to destroy my ego to its very root. Now I cannot find my ego within myself anymore. When I search for it, I see God alone. One can never attain God without completely getting rid of the ego. You must have noticed that the chatak bird has its nest on the ground but soars up very high. Captain says I haven't acquired any occult powers because I eat fish. I tremble with fear lest I should acquire those powers. If I should have them, then this place would be turned into a hospital or a dispensary. People would flock here and ask me to cure their illness. Is it good to have occult powers? M. No, sir. You have said to us that a man cannot realize God if he possesses even one of the 8 occult powers. Master, right you are. Only the small-minded seek them. If one asks something of a rich man, one no longer receives favor from him. The rich man doesn't allow such a person to ride in the same carriage with him. If he does, he doesn't allow the man to sit near him. Therefore, love without any selfish motive is best. God with form and the formless God are both equally true. What do you say? One cannot keep one's mind on the formless God a long time. That is why God assumes form for his devotees. Captain makes a nice remark in this connection. He says that when a bird gets tired of soaring very high, it perches on a tree and rests. First is the formless God, and then comes God with form. I shall have to go to your house once. I saw in a vision the houses of Adhar, Balaram, and Surendra were so many places of our foregathering. But it makes no difference to me whether they come here or not. M. That's right. Why shouldn't it be so? One must feel misery if one feels happiness, but you are beyond both. Master. Yes. Further, I think of the magician and his magic. The magician alone is real. His magic is illusory, like a dream. I realized this when I heard the Chandi recited. Shumba and Nishumba, that's one of the 2 demons in the Chandi, were scarcely born when I learned they were both dead. M. Yes, sir. Once I was going to Kalna with Gangadhar in a steamer. A country boat struck our ship and sank with 20 or 25 passengers. They all disappeared in the water, like foam churned up by the steamer. May I ask you one thing? Does a man watching magic really feel compassion when he sees suffering in the performance? Does he feel at that time any sense of responsibility? One thinks of compassion only when one feels responsibility. Isn't that so? Master. A jnani sees everything at once. God, Maya, universe, and all living beings. He sees that Vidyamaya, Avidyamaya, the universe, and all living beings exist, and at the same time they do not exist. As long as he is conscious of I, he's conscious of others too. Nothing whatsoever exists after he cuts through the whole thing with the sword of jnana. Then even his I becomes as unreal as the magic of the magician. And was reflecting on those words when the master said, Do you know what it is like? It is as if there were a flower with 25 layers of petals, and you cut them all with one stroke. The idea of responsibility, goodness gracious. Men like Shankaracharya and Shukadeva kept the ego of knowledge. It is not for man to show compassion, but for God. One feels compassion as long as one has the ego of knowledge, and it is God himself who has become the ego of knowledge. You may feel 1,000 times that it's all magic, but you are still under the control of the Divine Mother. You cannot escape her. You are not free. You must do what she makes you do. A man attains Brahmajnana only when it was given to him by the Adyashakti, the Divine Mother. Then alone does he see the whole thing as magic, otherwise not. As long as the slightest trace of ego remains, one lives within the jurisdiction of the Adyashakti. One is under her sway. One cannot go beyond her. With the help of the Adyashakti, God sports as an incarnation. God, through his Shakti, incarnates himself as man. Then alone does it become possible for an incarnation to carry on his work. Everything is due to the Shakti, the Divine Mother. When anyone asked the former manager of the temple garden a great favor, the manager would say, "Come after 2 or 3 days. You must ask the proprietor's permission." God will incarnate himself as Kalki at the end of the Kali Yuga. He will be born as the son of a Brahmin. Suddenly and unexpectedly a sword and horse will come to him. ... Adhar returned to the master's room after watching the evening worship in the temples. Master to Adhar and the others, "Bhuvan was here and brought me 25 Bombay mangoes and some sweets. She said to me, 'Will you eat a mango?' I said, 'My stomach is heavy today. And to tell you the truth, I'm feeling uncomfortable after eating a few of the sweets.'" Bhuvan Mohini was a nurse who used to visit Sri Ramakrishna now and then. The master could not eat the food offerings of everyone, especially physicians and nurses. It was because they accepted money from the sick in spite of the sufferings of these people. Master: "Keshav Sen's mother, sisters, and other relatives came here. So I had to dance a little. I had to entertain them. What else could I do? They were so grief-stricken." And that is the end of that chapter. We've come to the end of that chapter. So any comments or discussions on anything? Okay, good. All right, then let me give the announcements for tomorrow. Tomorrow, Swami Vedarupananda will speak on karma and reincarnation. On Wednesday, Krishna Prana will give the reading from Swami Trigunatita. A week from today, 5 p.m., Swami Chidbrahmananda, we hope and assume that he will be back to give the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 5 p.m. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for joining. Always so nice to see everyone's faces here. Jai Ma, enjoy. See you later. Oh, Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.